Hey, welcome back, guys. I told y'all at the beginning of this BBQ Shack build that I was going to do another separate video just talking about the cost. So we're up to that point now. Again, it's not 100% done. There's still a lot of work to do, a lot of decorating, a lot of final touches. But I wanted to go ahead and get this video out there because there's really, I think that's the big thing people have to decide. All the decorations and all the final touches will probably be different. But I'm just talking about the base structure pretty much, and we'll go over the costs for each little area. And that way it'll give you some options to decide if you want to do something like this. You can kind of have an idea what it might run you. And I've got it all put into Excel. I saved every receipt. Luckily everything was either at Harbor Freight, Tractor Supply, Lowe's. So I was able to have receipts sent to my email and keep them pretty easily. Some stuff was from Marketplace, like the tin. So that I just remember what I paid for that. But anyway, let's get started. All right, so for part one of the video series, we were all about getting the posts in the ground and kind of the little bit of the frame around the post. So, see, posts are expensive. So the 4 posts, the 4x6 ran 96, 4x4s that were between those were 67. Then we had, a few other boards to go around it, but really, concrete added up really quick. A few bolts from Tractor Supply, but not much. So pretty much the base ended up costing us $328. Now, I ended up with about 2.5 bags of concrete extra, so you could probably take, $10, $12 off for that. I did have the partial post that's right below me where I'm sitting now that went in the ground. That one I actually had. I didn't have to purchase, so, that was a piece of a post there that I was able to utilize from my junk pile. So anyway, I'm trying to call out additional stuff that I had that we used along the way. Of course, I'm not really talking about tools. I'm not talking about the tractor, the auger, the drills, the saws, all that. All that was included. I did have a couple of tools that I purchased along the way, mostly supplies, but I'll talk about those as we get to them. So again, for part one, the post, we're talking $328.26. As we move into part two, we're now talking about the decking. So decking gets expensive, right? I will say I had a little bit of this. You guys see here, just the decking itself, the new part of the decking I put up front here. So that was running $136. So I had the decking in the back already. So you'll probably go ahead and add another $136 if you were buying the entire deck. Obviously, I had a lot of screws that I used ahead of time. I did have 7 joist hangers. So I ended up only buying 13 where I would have been buying 20. Of course, I had to come back and buy one more when I added the board down the middle there. And again, I went ahead and listed all the screws that I bought. Now, depending on what you already have, you may not need this many. You may not need this size. I had some left. I had quite a few left of the 3-inch, and I had definitely some left of the 1 5/8. I didn't use nearly all of those. And later on, when I bought some Craig screws, I probably had half of that box left too. But again, it's cheaper to buy the larger sizes sometimes, even if you don't need that many. At least you have some left to utilize at another time. As we move into part 3, this is where it starts getting a little more pricey. This is the roof. So again, lots of treated material we're buying. We did buy a few bolts again at Tractor Supply, but nothing too expensive. We had more to do up there because we were going through all the way through like in this one here, we're going through the post, but going through a couple of 2x material also. So they're quite a bit longer bolts. So they were a little more expensive. We did, of course, have to buy the screws to secure the tin. And of course, the tin itself, we bought it off Marketplace from a guy that sells recycled material. We bought 90 foot at $2 a foot. We had a little bit left of that, not too much. We kind of knew out there working with them, we were kind of counting it in our head and adding up about what we needed. And we may have ended up with one short piece left over, but we actually did pretty good to getting close to right at what we needed. And again, a couple of things here we went ahead and bought. We did buy the cutoff wheel. You saw me using that quite a bit, cutting the tin. And that thing was great. I know they make all kind of snips and everything else, but I've just never had luck with the snips just because of the ridges of the tin. It's kind of hard to cut up and down and keep it straight, where this thing just worked great. the other piece that we bought that was kind of a tool we bought from Harbor Freight, I guess I'll call it a tool, but it's more just a supply, but it was a set of the 1/2 inch, 9/16 and 5/8 inch, 25-inch bits. Again, they weren't the best bits in the world. They got the job done, but boy, they were a struggle to get through the wood, especially when you're going through a couple of 2x material and a 4-inch post. It's kind of hard to get it through, but I think it definitely would have been worth my time to go buy a Milwaukee bit and just get the single bit, even though it was like 3 times as much just for that bit. We bought the 10 off Marketplace, just found a great deal. I don't know what it would be. I mean, just like anything, you can go out to Lowe's and look up the part numbers and see how much their tin is if you were to buy it, and kind of make your estimation from there if you don't have a way to buy recycled tin. Part 4, we're a little bit cheaper in part 4 for the sides. Now again, I think you could drop this depending on how you're going to do the trim around the sides. If you really want it trimmed out like this will kind of give you an idea. We're right about $450 there. We bought 118 feet of the rustic tin. Now this is narrower tin. This is 2 foot versus the roofing material, which was 3 foot in width. But we got it for $1.50 a foot. So we ended up with maybe 2.5 sheets left over. So we definitely had some left over, but we've got another project that we're working on, a cattle shelter that we're working on, that we need some more tin. So we'll probably utilize that out there when the time comes. Again, I mentioned earlier, we got some Craig screws for this part of it. Again, I probably had half of that left, but I will definitely use them. I use a lot of Craig screws in everything I build. Because we have the little slide out door here, the little window that opens up, we did have to get a couple of hinges to make that work. So we just got those at Lowe's also. I still have not bought I know I need some gas struts to kind of push that out and hold it out. And then I need a locking mechanism to keep it closed when we're not using it. I haven't got that far yet. Will be coming in the near future though. If you get to it now, we come to this last page. So I've got, again, for part 1 was $328.26. Part 2 for the deck was $319.86. Part 3 for the roof was $555.18. And part 4 for the sides was $453.70. If we sum that up now, that's going to get us to $1,657. So you're right at $1,700. I didn't include tax in here because I know everybody's tax rate's different. And of course, all the material costs may be different depending on where you are in the country too. But anyway, I want to go ahead and get this out there so you can see it. Now, you may sit here and say, well, I don't really want to spend $1,700, but, maybe I don't do the sides. I'm just going to do the post, the deck, and the roof, and you can kind of get an idea, well, that's going to run me $1,200. Or you could say, well, I just would like to have the deck itself. I'm not worried about having a roof on it. So, that's going to run you about $650. So it kind of gives you an idea of what the costs are going to be depending on how far you want to go with this. Again, I'm still looking for some suggestions on adding shelves, adding some cabinets, like a work prep area. My goal is to get that done fairly quickly, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing yet. So anyway, I'd love to hear your suggestions. Still got some cleanup work to do. Need to trim off the edges of all the deck boards, get those evened up. Still need to finish up the roof, and actually that very front piece of the roof panels are not screwed into the wood. But we've had some pretty significant winds, and this tin isn't budging, but I still would like to get that cleaned up. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll take this Excel spreadsheet and I'll provide a link to it so you can download it. If you would like, you can just see all the detail and you could play with it yourself and say, well, I would rather shrink this down so I know I'm going to make a smaller deck and I'm going to need the ability to, modify the quantity of the materials and see what that cost is going to be. So you can play with this however you'd like to. But if you have any questions, please let me know. You guys have a great day.